This video is not for whales and dolphins, it's for you because you are just like me. And just like me, you might be looking forwards and seeing seed and being like, huh, should I be pulling this feet girl? Well, I got the answer for you. And by the answer, I mean, I got some pros and cons and we'll go through them. I'm going to tell you why you maybe should pull for seed, but also why I am not going to be pulling for seed. So let's start with the why you should, because I actually do think that seed's buffs are better than we thought that they were going to be pre-release. So the information is out now. It's coming out from the content creator beta server. Seed is going to provide 1000 attack, 30% crit damage, and 25% all damage increase in terms of her buffs. Now, in order to maintain all of those buffs, you need to EX special on Seed, but then also on another attack character. So yeah, that does mean that you're locking yourselves into using Seed plus at least one other attack character and then probably a stun character or a support character in that third slot. The buff lasts for 40 seconds and that's pretty good. Like 1000 attack, 30% crit damage, and 25% all damage increase. That's actually a really good buff that she's going to be providing. And remembering, of course, that she's not like a support, she's not a defense agent. She's actually a damage dealer, so she's also going to be taking advantage of that buff herself. And in fact, it does seem like a lot of the way that seems like the best ways to play Seed is that if you don't have another attack character who doesn't necessarily need a lot of field time, then the best way to play Seed is to play another attack character, bring them on EX special, dip, and then just stay on Seed. That does seem like the way that's best to play her, which is a little bit weird right now. I do think that, to be honest, as we head into the second half of 2.2 and we see Seed plus Orphe, that'll probably be Seed's best team. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the why you shouldn't. But yeah, for right now, yeah, I think that her team building is relatively flexible outside of the fact that you need an attack agent. That stun support slot is super flexible. You can run Nicole there from a F2P perspective, or you can, run someone more premium there like Astra. Then you can also run an attack agent who's going to be able to make the most of Seed's buff, someone like Sambi. You could also, though, just run any attack agent there that can EX special, which is all of them. Like, you can run Anton, you can run Billy, you can run Neko, you can run the Queen of Cake, Ju-Yuan. And then you can just switch back and spend most of your time on Seed. So yeah, I think it's relatively flexible, and I don't necessarily think you're going to get punished too much from just throwing together a team. And some of the scores that we're seeing coming out of the content creator beta server are pretty decent, even just with like Billy and Nicole. And remember, that's a 1.0 staple. That's kind of crazy that a team is going to do that much. It feels like Attack has had to adapt a little bit to keep up with Anomaly, because it's really hard to keep up with Anomaly teams where Anomaly teams have a support and then two characters just dealing damage because you've got two Anomaly DPSs, right? Whereas Attack is typically being attack stun support or attack stun stun for like Hugo or something like that, or attack support. And it meant that all of your damage was focused through one character. Whereas with Seed now, it's incentivizing you to be playing two attack characters. And I think, as we've already mentioned, when we get to the second half of 2.2 and we see Orphe, who's an off-field aftershock attack character, yeah, I think that Seed is probably going to see a little bit of a power bump when run with Orphe, but it doesn't mean that she's going to be bad when not run with Orphe. As I've mentioned, some of the scores we're seeing are really good coming out of the content creator beta server. Remembering, though, just a tiny little bit of qualifying there, that is going to be, decently built endgame teams running into content that is good for Seed. I've seen a lot of videos where they've been running it into UCC and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a very good fight for Seed. There's probably also going to be a shill boss as well. So you got all that to look forward to if you were going to pull Seed. Pretty flexible. If you're a newer player, I think it makes a lot of sense. If you're an older player, we'll talk more about that in just a moment when we talk about why I'm not going to be pulling Seed. So just before we get to that, this is your reminder that you probably aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing is a great way to support creators like me on YouTube. You can also drop me a follow over on Twitch, and you can join the Discord where you can come chill and hang out with loads of cool, chill peeps. Okay, so let's talk about why I'm skipping Seed and also why you might want to as well. I think for earlier players, i.e. players who have been playing either since the start of Zenless Zone Zero, or, maybe you played a bit at the start and then you came back and you played a bunch of ZZZ, you got a bunch of characters, you've kind of got your bases covered, let's put it that way. If that's the case, I actually don't think that Seed is going to be a great pickup unless you're also going to be picking up like the full team for Seed, i.e. you're going to be picking up Seed and Orphe and then potentially running them with Trigger, which is a lot to pull for in this patch. Now, if you already have Sambi and Trigger, then pulling Seed kind of makes sense because that's going to end up being Sambi's best team, even if it's not Seed's best team, because Seed's best team is probably going to be with Orphe. But I don't think it's going to be too crazy to suggest, though, that Seed feels a little unnecessary for any accounts that have been playing for a while. If you do already have Sambi, then you could also make the argument that you probably have the coverage for that electric attack type character. And they did allude to Sambi buffs coming at some point in the future. We don't have any more details on that right now. It might be 2.3, it might be second half, it might be 2.4. We'll have to wait and see on that. But if you do already have Sambi, you already have the electric type coverage for an attack agent. If you already have Haramasa, you probably have electric type coverage for an attack agent. And then outside of that, if you don't have those characters, you may already have someone like Yanagi who's going to cover you from an electric element, but not necessarily an electric attack element. And if it's an attack-based enemy that you're fighting against, generally they tend to be kind of easy. UCC and Typhon are two of the easiest fights that appear in Deadly Assault. So if I'm totally honest, yeah, unless the shill boss for Seed is really shilly, I don't see much reason to pick up Seed. And even if the shill boss for Seed is really shilly, I think most players who've been playing for a while probably don't need to pick up Seed. And picking up a character for just one boss doesn't really make sense because it'll probably fall out of the rotation at some point. But you can put the need to the side, and remember, it is waifu over meta, and if you just like Seed's design, like her character, you like the cool robot, I get it, man. Like, yeah, by all means, you're not going to brick your account by pulling Seed. I think that Seed's a pretty decent pickup. And as we've already talked about, like, even if you don't necessarily have that many characters to run with her, you're probably going to be fine just shoving an attack character in who can EX special and dip, and then any support or stun agent, and you'll probably still get 20k. Definitely against electric weak bosses, as long as your teams are somewhat built. But yeah, for me personally, I'm not really feeling Seed as from a design perspective. I think Obol Squad, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I think that their overall Obol Squad designs are kind of boring, and that's definitely personal opinion of mine. You can attack me for it in the comments down below. And considering the fact that we got the 2.3 drip before 2.2 has even come out, it's kind of making me think that, yeah, 2.3 looks like it might be a little bit more valuable for me to invest in as a long-time player. And this is also where we get to the point of, well, is 2.3 more valuable to invest in as a newer player as well? And to which the answer is potentially yes. But I understand if you're a newer player, you started in 2.0, the reality is you just won't have enough characters to fully clear endgame. So there will be a little bit of a drive there to be like, well, maybe if I pick up a new DPS, it's going to make that a little bit easier for me for now. And I do see that. But just to talk a little bit about the way the patches have gone since we've hit Season 2. In 2.0, we had a Rupture patch. We had Yixuan and Jufufu. In 2.1, we had Anomaly patch. We had Alice and Yuzuha. And then also Yanagi and Miyabi. Yeah, so it's full Anomaly patch. In 2.2, we're looking at pretty much a full attack patch because we've got Trigger, who is a really great stun agent for the attackers, and then 3 attack characters in Seed, Orphe, and Evelyn. And then in 2.3, it looks like it's a Rupture patch because we're getting Lucia, who the working theory is currently that Lucia is going to be a Rupture support, which would make sense because she's running next to Idari, who's going to be a new Rupture character. So yeah, when we start like putting this all together, I think that in terms of, keeping up with the meta, so to speak, I think that there's probably more value in investing into Rupture teams as opposed to attack-based teams. I think the fact that attack is changing a little bit is exciting, but I also feel like Seed probably doesn't feel like enough of an uplift over what most players already have to worry about investing into. But if you're newer to the game, I can see the drive to potentially pull her so that you can push a little bit deeper into the endgame content. But maybe just consider what's potentially coming in 2.3 before you necessarily fully commit to pulling both Seed and Orphe and Trigger, because that might be a bit much. But anyway, with that said, that's my whole opinion on the thing. As always, it's waifu over meta. If you like the characters and you like the designs, then by all means, go for it. You're not going to brick your account. You'll have a fun time. And I think if you pull for the characters that you like, then you're probably more inclined to continue playing the game more. But anyway, that's enough out of me. As always, remember to like and subscribe for better than average luck on all your pulls. Pull responsibly. Stay weird. Bye. Bye.